Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the On the Winning Side business training class for beginners, for intermediate, for professionals. There's always many ways to grow in business, and one part I've learned later on, which actually helped me, is learning how to count the cost of doing business. For being a new person, especially if you work a 9 to 5 job, you don't really understand what it's like to run a, to run a business, to start a business, or to have things go about it. And same if you've already done a bit, you have a business going on right now. You're kind of a lot of people are winging it. So, after the first, few classes where we talk about our why do we do our business, what's the story behind it, what puts that fire inside us to keep on going, and this one, and the next one was setting, business goals and knowing how to properly set your goals with making it a smart goal and having a clear vision, knowing precisely what you're wanting to do. Well, this course brings us to counting the cost of doing exactly what you want to do, and there's a price you got to pay. Um, and this is going to be a short class, but it's going to be very general. I'm going to make it specific towards my real estate, but this could be used in a general aspect, meaning regardless of your business, you can hopefully take away from this training course. So let's continue. There we go. So counting the costs. When wanting to become a business owner means evaluating the financial investments. It's gonna be a cost to start business, whether you have to buy material to start off with, whether if you need to get a new truck, whether you need to pay for the school admissions, those little costs. You're gonna have to find out exactly how much it's gonna cost you to get started or to continue to run your investment, your business. Another one is time commitment. One big thing that changed my life was I forgot where I heard this from, but it was probably from an audiobook or from one of my training courses, and it was talking about, are you a sometimes realtor or are you a part-time realtor? And that totally changed my mind. That totally changed my life because I was a part-time realtor, but literally I was doing it sometimes, and I was never achieving that full-time status, and I was never going to make that full-time status because you know I wasn't really committing to making time, scheduling, and putting that effort. I just did it, whenever I had a friend or family that just needed business. So once I counted the cost, I made an effort, and that's what helped me become a full time realtor. One is knowing the competition. Whenever you do a business, there's so many other businesses around, and that's a good thing. If you were the only one, it's whether people should use you or not. Now, when there's competition, you have people who are wanting your service, and they're just deciding if they should use your service or your neighbor's service. So having competition is a good thing, but you want to make sure you outwork and outperform your competition and what that's going to cost you. One is your market knowledge. You need to know your business. It's whenever I do business, I like to ask a lot of questions, especially if it's a new business that I'm hiring or new business that I'm going to put money in. I want to make sure they know what they're doing, and it's not going to be a mistake, especially if I'm going to pay for something. And it's the same way. If when I first started doing real estate, I had people who didn't want to work with me because I was a new agent. And they were my only client, and I'm willing to do 120%, 110%, a million percent, and help them out above and beyond anybody else. But because I was a newbie, I didn't know how to do stuff, and they weren't willing to invest their quarter of a million, $500,000 property with me. Counting the cost of marketing. how to market is one thing, and how to market effectively is another thing. There's a million ways to market wrong, and that'll be another video where we talk about how to market correctly. Another part is legal requirements. I don't get into much legal stuff because I'm not a lawyer, but you know, there's the cost of having things done legally is going to cost you, and doing it illegally is going to cost you way more. So, knowing what you're in your type of job that you do, making sure that you're doing it in a correct way, safe way. There's people who do, like, they clean houses, or they do yard work, or they do some type of service. Well, they need some type of protection. They need insurance. They need, some certification in some sense. So in case something happens, that doesn't come back onto them. They're not sued or hurt in any way. One, counting the cost of networking. Networking is a huge part of, I'm going to go into that in another series, and how to build with your networking, connecting with people, continuing learning. If you're in any business, I don't care what it is, you should always learn and learn and learn. Even if you're cutting grass, if that's your job, you should know all the different types of plants. You should know plants, the grass that's going to be good, bad grass. You should always be in a state of learning. Every week or month, there should be a new book, a new source of training thing, because the more that you know in a market, the better you become in that field. And also counting the cost of personal sacrifices. This could be some of the hardest things, but it'll set you apart from everyone else. When you work a 9 to 5, it feels like a slave job until you start a business. And then when you actually start a business, you're going to notice that it's going to take all of your time. And this is going to be, especially at the beginning, until you learn how to properly schedule things out. But you're going to be waking up super early in the morning to get your job done, staying out really late. It's going to be cutting a lot of family time, and that'll be a temporary stuff. Eventually, it'll pan out and work out for you. But there's a sacrifice, a lot of things that you're going to enjoy. You're going to give up weekends and holidays. And it's a temporary thing a lot. And I mentioned temporary over it being a forever thing. Because that's the main goal of having a business, is you can have that freedom, but there is going to be a huge sacrifice in the beginning. So let's get into the next one. Now, this is something somebody taught me, and it's like, kind of going off of the second seminar that we did on goals. And majority of the people, they do have goals. They want to make $100,000. I don't know if it's just it's just an easy number to always come up with, but I'm going to show you in a real estate term on getting $100,000. But see this in whichever business field that you're in. Use this kind of calculation. So if the goal is to make $100,000, what I did is, in the area that I'm working in, the average price per home is around $332,000. That's the average price that is being sold. Now, out of that, I picked a 2.5 commission. So I'm saying, out of that $332,000 home, if I get a 2.5 commission, that's about $8,300. It's a pretty good check. And then I minus my broker fee, which is 20%. So that gives me, for each house, I'm making $6,640,000. Now, if the goal is to get $100,000, I do 100,000 divided by 6,440, which is that, and that'll give me 15 houses. So as you see, this I would need, in a perfect world right here, if each house is $332,000 and I'm making 2.5% commission, I would need to sell 15 of these, or really is like 15.02 or 06. I would need to sell about 15 of these houses to make my $100,000 goal. Oh, let me go back to that. But here's some things to consider. Um, it's not just, you don't just clock in to become a real estate agent. All of a sudden, you have 15 doors lined up. This is the cost. This is the real cost. It's going to be the cost of your work. How many calls does it take for me to set an appointment to get with a client? Sometimes it's 100 calls just to get one, one qualified buyer, one qualified, seller who's willing to set an appointment. Sometimes it's 10, but it's how many calls you're making to actually set an appointment. The next one is how out of those appointments, if you're doing 2-3 appointments per week, how many appointments are actually converting into a listing? And then, it could go into more. Out of those listings, how many actually sell? Usually, the percentage of it's being sold is higher. But how many buyers do you need? And if you're working on the buyer side, is how many buyers do you send to get pre-approved? Now, if you do real estate, that getting buyers is a little bit more easier than getting sellers because everyone wants to buy, but the hard part is getting a qualified buyer. A lot of people have different ideas or understanding on how home buying can be. So they think you get a lot of people who are just unqualified, meaning they have bad credit, they have just no money. And it's a sad situation for them, but you get a lot of those, and to get them approved, getting the approved one, it's pretty small as well. Now, how many of those homes that you're showing does it take until you place an offer? I like to keep the search pretty low for that, but sometimes if they're a first-time home buyer, you might be out there for a little bit longer because they don't know what they're getting. They don't know what area they want. So that could take a little bit longer. So how many offers, you're submitting until one gets accepted? And not just getting accepted, actually making it past, the inspection period as well. And then how many properties, and this is buying or selling, that goes pending, actually make it to closing. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of cancellations that do happen. So as it does seem easy as, just sell 15 houses, get 100,000. Well, there's a lot of work that needs to go in first before you could actually get one house. So you have to count the cost of what $100,000 is going to be. If your goal is to make $100,000 selling, cutting grass or washing houses or cleaning cars or doing a fix and flip, or I'm just throwing types of jobs out there. You're going to have to break down exactly how much is it going to be per month that you need, per week, per day. How many days are you actually going to be working? What is it going to take for you to get that client? How much are you going to make per client? And then it's going to give you an idea of how much you need. And I really hope that you take this and see as how I do it for real estate, but you turn this around and do this for your business, whatever business it is. Write it down and see exactly how much work you need to put in to get it into a certain area. This list can literally continue. How much marketing, how much $100 in marketing does it take for me to get qualified buyers? How many open houses until you get qualified buyers? How many doors do you have to knock to get a qualified seller? Having that amount would actually give you a good idea in measuring where your success will be, and it'll get you closer to your goal, whether it's 50K, 100K, or $1 million, whatever your goal is. You have to know, you have to calculate exactly how you're going to get there. Now, here are other costs I like to put in. Like I talked about earlier, is there's a cost of your time. You need to schedule exactly everything. And I know we talked about this in the beginning, but these are some really important things. you need to schedule your timing. It's going to cost you a lot of time. And if you're working 9 to 5, you're working 9 to 5 and you have this on the side, you're going to have to give up sports. You're going to have to give up family time. You're going to have to give up all your fun, free activity after work to get this process going. And it's really hard if you have a full-time job. I know a lot of people who have a full-time job and they want to have their own business, but they're not willing to sacrifice. They're not willing to sacrifice that extra time. And I'm like, look, it'll be 1 year, 2 years. You're sacrificing until this part-time makes as much or enough to cover all your expenses. Then you could make it full-time. And then from that time, you could now have more family time. When I was doing both full-time, working as hard as I can, I barely saw my wife and I barely saw my son for at least a year. It was really hard, but now I work from home. I spend a lot of time at home, so it makes things a lot better. Money to be invested. You're going to spend a lot of money in a dumb way, in a wrong way, by buying marketing material that's not going to be effective. You're going to be placing ads that's just not going to be done correctly. Paying for artwork or logos or certain things, and you're going to end up changing it. There's a cost to whatever you're putting your money into, and it's gonna hurt you in the beginning. It's a small sacrifice, but I'm telling you, you need to understand there's going to be a waste, and you have to overcome that, and it'll be a temporary cost for that. Also, your hard work. You really need to, understand you have to go above and beyond to work with this. You have to work harder. You have to put into work, especially when you're tired. Even if you do, as long as you're consistent. If you do 2 hours a day, or 1 hour a day of work after you get out of work, it's not going to be the best, but if you dedicate 100% of that 1 hour of work, it's going to make a difference. Now, if you compare that to you get out of work of your 9 to 5 and you work 3-4 hours extra on your second side business to get it to a full time, or if you schedule your day working really hard, making it productive. And that's the thing, not just staying busy, because being busy, you can be busy with a lot of unproductive stuff that's not going to make you money. But if you're very productive in your work, that everything that you do is a step closer to making that dollar, you're going to be successful. And also, counting the cost of, you're going to face so much failure. And I'm not trying to discourage you, but, when I had family members and friends who, when I first became a realtor, they used other people, which sucked, I had a family member who I set up everything for them, and the next day when I called to set up the schedule, they're like, "Oh, I already signed a contract with another person," which was, totally embarrassing. And that's in the sense that it would have cost me after my split and everything. I was like, that was $9,000 you guys took away from my family, and that hurts. When you see friends and other people use other services, that's money that they take away. They're taking away from your family. I'd see friends who would use, so-called friends or acquaintances, use other people, and I'm like, man, that was $5,000. That could have been for my family. You just decided to throw it all, give it to somebody else. If you're going to use a business, you want people to use it with you. Well, you're going to have to face these things, especially in the beginning. It's going to happen. People are going to, not use you, or people are going to use you in the wrong way. They'll have you waste time with them. So, and it's going to be hard. You're going to face a lot of challenges in the beginning, and you have to understand that. It's going to have to come from you and understand, you know what, this is going to be difficult for me in the beginning. But regardless, I'm going to overcome this. And I like what it just says here. Success has a price. Success typically comes at the cost because achieving big goals requires hard work, time, and sometimes money. So you might it means you might need to give up some of your free or easy things to be presented even when things get tough. And like I said, you need to have heart and you have to give up. This is all temporary too. And then so if you want success, you have to be ready to pay the price by putting in the effort and making sacrifices along the way. So thank you for watching. My name is Luis Mendez. If you can't, check out onthewinningside.com, as soon I'm going to be having more articles and more training courses on there and training material that will be beneficial for you with some ebooks and stuff. If you have any questions, please send me an email, shoot me a text, and I love to help you in any way. Thank you for watching. Please also like and subscribe to the channel so that way you can stay up to date with more things. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.